Hello and welcome to the Migration Menu, a podcast series that explores journeys from South Asia to West London through food.
Each episode, we'll be going out into West London to talk to people about what food from their homeland means to them and why. We will also explore culinary traditions that have made their way here from South Asia.
So join us as we eat our way through some of the best food that West London has to offer, from pan-seared momos and fermented bamboo shoots to masala dosa and much more. I'm James Staples and I'm a Professor of Anthropology at Brunel University London and author of Sacred Cows and Chicken Manchurian.
And my name's Luke Heslop, and I'm here to carry the equipment and occasionally check James's blood pressure and keep tabs on his BMI as we eat our way around West London.
And we very much look forward to taking you on this personal and culinary journey with us. This week we're way out west in Pinner to visit a new Sri Lankan restaurant called Yako.
And as you can tell by my excitement, James, it's the week I have long been waiting for. To left here.
So what do we know about these people we're going to see, Luke?
Well, kind of nothing. I think that the owners are from the south, going off the fact that they use a Yako devil mask as the logo, which are, in Sri Lanka, these are masks made for kind of exorcistic rituals and what are called low country dance dramas.
Right.
Yako masks you might have seen them, they've got various designs, really colourful, and theirs has a fun and slightly cheeky, winky face. But they're generally associated with the evil eye, and they're also a statement of indication with certain kinds of cult traditions, but of course also Buddhism. And interestingly, in the early 90s, they were used to adorn houses, and you see them kind of decorating the houses as well. And the Yako dancers also featured at this point in advertisements for Silinko house insurance, marrying a kind of spiritual significance with new financial vehicles that accompanied post-open economy Sri Lanka.
Right, okay. Oh, is this why then you thought they were from the south of Sri Lanka?
Yeah, a possible reason, James, but I also looked at the menu before we set off and could see that they had southern Sri Lankan dishes.
Yeah. Oh, I think they're here on the left.
Yep.
We parked the car on a wide road lined by independent eateries and Tudor-beamed pubs leading up to a church. The location of Yako feels a very long way from our usual haunts in Southall Broadway, Hayes Town Centre and the Uxbridge Road. It's like an island of South Asia in a sea of old village England.
The restaurant itself is in a 400-year-old Grade 2 listed building that had once been a public house frequented by Admiral Nelson. In keeping with the Tudor period frontage, the cheeky and colourful southern Sri Lankan Yako, which adorns the outlet in South Harrow, has been transformed into a more austere and far less colourful version. And as we're told by Lara de Souza, Yako's business operations manager, it was important to bring the brightness of Sri Lanka and its cuisine to Pinner, whilst recognising the history of the venue.
There was a victory ship that Admiral Nelson used, and they used to come here to the pub, and then after the war, this is a place that they used to come for a drink. And then, so with Pinner, there's a lot of history associated with this property. Yeah. And they want it preserved and, kept in a certain way. So,
following a tour of the beautiful period building, we sat down to a colossal meal and to hear the story of the owner of Yako, Darshana Wattajura.
My name is Darshana Wattajura. People call me Dash because some of people cannot pronounce my name properly, so it's easier, and which I'm very comfortable with.
Dash, okay.
We are starting to look for a journey, and this is the first proper restaurant we are opening, or will be opening in May, and with the hope of to open a chain. That is the idea. And our background is we have been in catering for a long time, but it's something completely different. We have been catering for airlines, and still we do. That goes back to early 2000.
If we take you back to 1989, you came to the UK, Dash, for the first time.
Yes, just after my A-levels. Actually, I didn't wait for the results. There was a bit of a revolution was going in 1989. So what my parents were, every time when I go out, my parents were worried whether I'll come back home. That's how it was bad.
Right.
The early 1970s saw the first of two youth insurrections led by the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, the People's Liberation Front, or the JVP, a leftist nationalist party. The first rumblings of a disgruntled youth not feeling the benefits of post-colonial Lanka. A second JVP insurrection occurred between 1987 to 1990. Throughout this period, the response from the state was far more violent and honed its internal mechanisms of representation to crush the JVP and reaffirm control. It was in the south of the island that the insurrection was most brutally crushed by the state, and many young Sri Lankans were disappeared.
Having thought of for the studies, I came here, and I used to play cricket as well. So, which I enjoyed. I played from most of Sri Lankan anyway. They do. I played for my school team as well. So I came. I still remember. It was 12th of September, 1989, and drizzling weather and very much of a change for me from Colombo to here. That was the first time I was on a plane. I had never flown before that even. On my own. So my uncle came and picked me up. Went there. I was with them for about a few days, I would say, because as I said, I was 19. So they had 3 children, young children, and a lot of restriction. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, go out. And I wasn't familiar to that kind of a culture, because back home even I was very independent. I do what I like and very sensible manner.
Thank you.
But for them, they had the responsibility to kind of guide me through. But the lifestyle didn't match with my way of kind of getting. I felt like I've been told so what to do and when to do and kind of thing. So I called my mom and said after a week, this is not for me. I can't, because I didn't want to upset them either, because they've been very kind to take me in. But I knew the longer it goes, there's somewhere there's going to be a kind of clash. So I told my mom, can you please tell uncle that I have few friends. I had friends, when I came here, I had friends who played cricket with me. They were independent. I like to move in with them. And to start my journey from there onwards. So I went away with my friends, start the journey from there onwards. It was coming to December, November. I thought I got to make this is difficult for me. Then right front of where I was in, there was a the travel agent. Every day when I open the window, look through the window, that's what I say. This was just really gave me, let's go back before the winter starts. All of a sudden, I still remember 29th of November, I went to the early morning. That the minute they opened, I went and I said, what's the earliest ticket you can get me to go to Sri Lanka? He said, son, you can, old gentleman, he said, son, you can go tomorrow, 30th. I took a flight, went back till I went to the door. My parents even didn't know that I was coming. And then I was there it was very, the revolution of the youngsters rising up, and that's the era. So I thought this is a bad news. Now I'm not neither there, I can't settle there, and I can't settle like I wasn't settled here. Then after about 15 days, I decided I'm going to come back again. I came back with the thought, I'm going to make a life here. That's no going. I was a very strong-minded person and very decisive. As I said, I used to play cricket, so you have to have patience, and so in my mind was very clear where my home is going to be.
Dash recounts his employment on arrival in the UK, from cleaning the toilets of a well-known fast food outlet, to working on the garage forecourt, to becoming a regional manager, to running a franchise supplying garages up and down the country. For Dash, the 1990s was a time when he was supported as a migrant, and if you put the work in, you would be rewarded.
Then, like everyone, I have done cleaning. My first job was actually forecourt cleaner. I was 19, you know, like in Sri Lanka, when you get up from the bed, you don't even lay the bed even properly, you just get up and go. I could do anything. First job was a McDonald's actually, not McDonald's, there was the Burger King. Burger King, they gave me a brass cleaning thing I have never seen, I didn't know how to use. They gave me gloves, this, that. I said, with gloves I can't work, I don't use that. Yeah. I used to go and just put the brass and they gave a cloth. And I used to clean and so that's where the journey started and making my own money. I was very proud, whatever, because I work, I make. One service station became 5 by the 2000. I had one in Finchley, one in Kensington, one in Cockfosters by Pottersbar, then 2 in Hastings. Basingstoke. So all around I had it. The way I became to this food industry by default actually. On this garages there was a guy, Sri Lankan guy, actually used to service sandwiches. He was doing very well this pita bread sandwich, and I had a lot of sales on it. And all of a sudden he got disappeared. Then I called the guy. He didn't supply for a couple of days. I called the guy and I said, "What happened to your supply?" He said, where he was getting, they have gone bankrupt. Crazy, I mean, it's a good product. So I called him and I said, who was manufacturing? Then they gave me the company name. So I called them up. And they said, it's gone to receivers, not again. So then I called this guy, the guy who was supplying. I said, can you figure out the people who are making them? And if I give you a hand, can you make a factory? And because he had clients, so I looked at the books. He was doing it okay. Then I had 5 garages. I asked what is it, because I didn't have no idea of the kind of how much it's going to cost for the factories, and I wasn't in that level. I think it's a lot more different those days to now. What I see in a way. I remember when I was leaving, actually my father said a very wise thing. What he said was, when you go to a place or wherever you go, you try and adjust to their lifestyle.
You had your uncle in Hounslow and then some family members. Was there a broader Sri Lankan community that was easily accessed?
Just in particular in Hounslow, I guess Heathrow is very close by. Sri Lankan airline in those days called Air Ceylon, I remember the Air Ceylon or something else. So they come into Heathrow and they were based in kind of around there, most of Sri Lanka. So there was a community was there, and as I said, those days it made me laugh. Like today, I remember I wasn't even going to the kitchen. I was so afraid I will blow the place off. So I never ever try into kitchen or try out any cookers or anything, because we were not used to that. That fear was there. I will blow the place. Correct. So to get my food or to eat something, I always used to go to uncle or someone else's and used to go and eat Sri Lankan food and that kind of it. So now here, after 35 years, I'm using the biggest bread pan, biggest ovens, biggest pipe, factory level, the 2-inch gas pipes. Now when I look back, I was afraid to switch on a cooker.
Talk to me about hot butter cuttlefish.
Then tossed with the chili, again with a little bit butter. That's why we call it hot butter cuttlefish.
Is this a particularly southern dish or is it island-wide?
I think towards the Colombo, it's
Colombo
mainly.
Colombo,
Yeah.
that area normally eating, but north area also eating, but different way. They're making mainly curries out of this one.
The southern style food, kind of southern style branding. The Yako also
Yeah.
is like a very southern
Yeah,
kind
very
of
south,
thing,
yeah.
right? And of course you've got your North Central Province chef.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Tell me about how the southern food differs.
To be honest, why I want to create that name, because if you go around this area, if you can get any chicken curry or mutton curry, you can get South Indian style and north part of Sri Lanka.
Here, Dominda talks about the importance of emphasising the southern aspect of the Sri Lankan food they serve. It should be said that from Hounslow to Harrow, you can find many restaurants that serve Sri Lankan food. These are often an addition to a much bigger Indian market. The vast majority of the restaurants in this area are owned by Tamils from South India and Sri Lanka. As a result, the Sri Lankan offer is something of an addendum to the main southern Indian food served. Moreover, the style of cooking and ingredients don't quite catch the taste of Sri Lankan cooking from the south and centre of the island. The word southern, alongside the known Yako symbol, quietly does the work of signalling without saying that the food you will eat at Yako is the kind of food you would find in a Sinhalese home, which, as mentioned, is a gap in the market for this particular part of West London.
The other thing is we gave a lot of thought about what we want to do. This is where this Yako name came. As probably you will know, Yako is the face mask. That typically comes from southern side, or they are the famous people who to make this Yako face mask. So there will be some face masks coming here as well. So that was it was behind this whole process. So we want to give a bit of a difference to the, everywhere Sri Lankan food you can get it everywhere. But we wanted to give group of people who want to eat something really, really typical Sri Lankan southern style. At the same time, to have a few group of friends who can able to do the other things as well. So we have in the menu to cover the entire range, even to a level to go to Western food as well, about steak, and it will be there. So group of people can come and have it like across the board. If you have will, you should be able to succeed if you don't take shortcuts. For me, one thing I believe, if you're getting something, either do it right or get out of it. Probably what you'll notice,
This is an egg fried rice.
An egg fried rice.
you will, in Sri Lankan cooking, they don't use much of oil.
Right.
So that oil element is out.
Yeah.
It replaced with coconut.
Coconut.
Yeah.
The first dish out of the blocks, introduced by Dominda, Yako's executive head chef, is a Ceylon Chinese-style chicken and sweet corn soup, served with chicken and mutton cutlets, a fish patty and a vegetable roll, with a freshly made in-house chilli and dark tamarind sauce.
At this point, the main course dishes have colonised the tabletop, and we have to shuffle the plates around to make space. Classic Sri Lankan dishes like chicken curry, southern style, in a traditional red gravy, tempered potatoes with onion and chilli, tempered pineapple, sini sambal, which is made of sweet caramelised onion, prawn curry, jackfruit or polos curry, and poppadoms, not forgetting fish curry, the southern speciality, fish and bultial, tuna fish cooked with garlic, onion, mustard seeds and curry leaves in a thick gravy. Then there are hoppers, which are these bowl-shaped, light, crispy, pancake-like things, ideal for absorbing curry. And then there were side dishes of a bright orange spicy coconut mix called pol sambal and a green salad sambal with grated coconut flakes called gatu kola and some kotu roti for good measure, just in case Luke was still hungry.
While there are many Sri Lankan Tamil restaurants in West London, or Southern Indian restaurants that also serve food from the north of Sri Lanka, and while you get very fancy restaurants like Hoppers in Covent Garden and King's Cross, Rambutan in Borough Market and Colombo Kitchen in Putney, they have a slightly more expensive offer. Something that really struck me with the food we were served at Yako was its everyman quality, that, for me at least, really gave it a sense of authenticity for the kind of food I'm familiar with in small town Sri Lanka. I told Dash as much as a compliment, having eaten at all of the above named places, which thankfully was the spirit in which he took it. Yeah. It's like you could be in any kind of rest stop in Sri Lanka as well, not in some
high-end
in Colombo place or in central London. Doing that.
This is
beautiful colour
actually singing my ear in a pleasure to hear that. This is exactly what we're trying to create. What we wanted is, this is affluent area by the Pina itself. So we want to bring that from mixture of it, so and give a nice variety, reasonable way for people to enjoy.
Dash relays to us his transition from doing some contracted food production for the service stations to becoming a trusted caterer for several airline carriers flying into and out of Heathrow Airport.
So when did you start the Harrow restaurant?
This is so from sandwich business. Then, as I said, it was going down the margin wise,
Right.
and as I said earlier, the delivery cost.
Delivery costs,
Hitting at the roof because of the mileage. The van cost was hitting. I thought this has to change. I mean, it can't carry on like this unless we get a lot of business around. So slowly, that side, I was speaking to a friend of mine. We were having a beer actually. I was sharing my pain and concern. This guy used to work for airlines. So he said, you have a factory. Why don't you try airline catering?
Right.
So this is how it came. As I earlier said, when I'm trying to doing something, I take my time, I learn the thing. So airline catering was a complete different thing to me. So we went to Heathrow with 6 plates for 6 months, just to learn. These 6 plates are 3 crew meals, vegetarian crew meals for the breakfast and lunch. Those are the 6 meals out of those days 369 on economy and 18 on business class. Almost 400 people on a flight, and I was given only 6 plates. So people having a kind of Mickey, I have a fun of it. I said, let's see. So after 6 months, then I got to a bit, little by little for the section. Within the year and 2 months, we end up doing the entire flight, entire from business class to entire tray setup. I took my time to learn, but once I learn, I'm very kind of moving very fast for the next stage, kind of.
In pure calorie terms, I think this has been our biggest challenge yet. The most incredible dishes just kept arriving at the table in these beautiful blue ceramic bowls, and they came faster than we could ever dream of polishing them off.
You made a rookie error at the beginning, James, starting with the Sini bun. Very much the Sri Lankan equivalent of filling up on the bread.
I did.
But in your defence, we were generously served such a wide range of Sri Lankan food that it was difficult to work out where to start.
Indeed, but we made a valiant effort nonetheless. And other than this generous scale of the feast, what were your thoughts on our meal at Yako, Luke?
Well, firstly, on the design and aesthetic, which, as you know, James, I do love to comment on in this series, I thought it was very well pitched. A potentially dour pub setting was lit up by the exciting colours of Sri Lankan cuisine, and this was laid atop exposed wood tables under a nice warm lighting. And the open-plan kitchen and large copper pendant shades on the lighting fixtures over the food service counter was another really nice feature. The yellow backlit Yako sign looked great, and the advert for Sri Lanka's Tusker vodka reminded me of an old nightclub in Colombo called the Blue Elephant. Now, I don't have a particularly clear memory of the interior of the club, but Yako, for my money, did a great job of marrying an historical English pub with an exciting tropical island menu. I was genuinely blown away with the food at Yako. Hats off to the executive chef, Duminder. And it really struck a chord with me in terms of authenticity, which I kind of put to the owner, Dash, in the interview. This was undeniably Sri Lankan food, or Lankavikema in Sinhala, served as it would be in Sri Lanka. Deviations and adaptations were not new fancy twists, but rather old familiar ones for those who know the country well. The Chinese-inspired broth that we started with took me to Peach Valley on Flower Road in Colombo, and the stir-fried noodles were a small-town rest-stop classic. So not what you might call traditional or indigenous Sri Lankan dishes, but still classics across different socio-economic and geographical spaces. This is not pretentious food remade anew for an English palate in West London. This is unapologetically Sri Lankan.
One of the things that I noticed, actually, was that there was lots of coconut involved in nearly every dish. Of course, it was there in the pol sambal, which is a mixture of chili, lime and desiccated coconut. It was also grated in other side salads like the gotokola, and it also featured in a rice dish as milk, as well as flavouring the gravy or the sauces of lots of the other curries as well. I think it was the anthropologist Bim Vondale who wrote about the social and ritual significance of coconuts in Sri Lanka, which is what it made me think of. The piece I read, I think, showed how the coconut is used in various rituals across the country, from fertility and prosperity rituals to post-harvest offerings to local deities, and also in funeral ceremonies. And Vondale, like many in the anthropology of food and in food studies, highlights how a particular food item, in this case, of course, the coconut, can become a medium through which human and more than human worlds are brought together.
I really like Vim's work, and he has this incredible eye for detail, and with the skill to think through things as assemblages and networks and so on. He takes apart all of the constituent elements of the coconut to show how they manifest in different contexts, be it ritual, textual, political, and of course the everyday, because coconuts really do sustain life in parts of Sri Lanka in all kinds of symbolic and material ways, and it's used in food. But from the tree, you make thatched roofs, brooms, mattresses. You can burn the husks and you sell them for money to buy other things. And in ritual context specifically, it's often the overflowing of the coconut milk at an auspicious time that gives the coconut its potency and makes it such a powerful actor in the negotiation and regeneration of life, whether of rice, human beings, deities, or worlds. But beyond Vandale and Sri Lanka, anthropologists like Gell and Laura Raval in other contexts have talked about how coconut trees index human lives and their course of life.
Yeah, and I know that Masakazu Tanaka, she also writes about the myth that Shiva sacrificed a coconut as a substitute for his own self-sacrifice, right?
Exactly, which also takes us to a fairly obvious point that food is not only about eating, it is indeed about life and death.
As well as the food story here, Dash had a familiar assimilation story into the UK. No shortcuts, starting from the bottom, learning slowly, working hard and grasping opportunity where it made itself available, wherever he could find it.
There was a really nice moment in the interview when Dash's journey to familiarity in the UK was mapped onto his own familiarity with cooking equipment and what he'd learned. So from being nervous entering the kitchen to owning a catering business and now 2 restaurants.
Yako and the story of Dash has been a fascinating addition to the series. Now, the restaurant's in its infancy and its success, though we loved it, is as yet unknown. But the Yako story combines elements of opportunity and risk that are really familiar from others from the South Asian diaspora that we've interviewed for this series.
And on that note, we're going to bring it to a close this week. Thanks for listening, and if you're in Pinner, do make sure that you stop by at Yako for some absolutely phenomenal Sri Lankan food. Next week, we're going to be speaking to Elisha Kashyap from the London Food Company, where we're not going to be going out to a restaurant, but trying some food cooked at home and eaten on campus.
The Migration Menu has been brought to you by James Staples and Luke Heslop, with help from Esther Apoko-Deborah, Tina Bolton and Vimal Dalal. If you have any questions or comments, please email us on info@themigrationmenu.com, and do sign up to our mailing list, which can be found on our website, themigrationmenu.com. Go well.